check Rich Cove out
Y'all
here.
are crazy.
From is it Botley? Is that the name of the place?
I live in a place called Whiteley, which is not far from Botley. My phone tends to post Botley as a place, but it is. But it's actually a village called Whiteley. Well, I say village. There's about 3,000 houses now.
Wow. Rich, it is awesome to have a buddy in the UK to talk to like this. This has always been, I mean, and I'm glad that my buddy from the UK is a really cool guy.
Thank you.
Your wife couldn't hear me say that, huh?
She wouldn't believe you. She might have different terms.
Told me earlier you're a counselor, is that correct?
Yep. Yeah, I've been a therapist since 2002, so about 12 years.
Wow. Well, where I live here in Morganton, it's sort of like the mental health, one of the biggest mental health centers in the Southeast. So if you're ever looking for a job, I'm sure I can hook you up in North Carolina if you're ever willing to leave the UK.
I'd leave the UK tomorrow.
So you're a therapist, you're a fisherman, you're a video enthusiast. What else is Rich Cove?
You didn't tell me you do this for a living. You interview for a living.
I think most of my life really is dominated by I've got a 3.5-year-old son. Well, it'll be 4 in April. So that's been busy times really for having a kid. It's like unbelievable. So that sort of more family work's quite a big chunk of my life. There's always something to do, or in that environment that I work in, there's always something that needs to be done, and you probably know that. Because I'm self-employed, but I also work for a big organisation as well. So that takes up a lot of my time. I try to make sure that I only have minimal time at work and more time at home, because that's really important. I like cars.
Well,
I tend to do that.
I've never had any kids because it didn't work out for my first marriage, and it's just Nikki and I haven't been together that long, so it's not been a big family thing for me. I guess I am sort of a workaholic. I've got too many irons in the fire, and often wish I could just slow down and enjoy life a little bit more. But I shouldn't be here using you as a counselor, so we'll save that for another time.
Well, I can send you an invoice, you'll be fine.
Right. I can pay you back in free stuff that I'm getting from product manufacturers now.
Yeah, it's been awesome, isn't it? That is great.
Yeah, it's pretty weird. People are giving me free stuff all the time. I can't complain about that. I mean, just to test it, and so that's been kind of fun. But tell me about the fishing and everything, because we looked at your photos. We love your photos. We love the serious photos you take. But then we saw these photos of the fish, and some of them are really exotic looking. Where do you go? Do you go all around the world doing these fishing trips?
No, I tend to stay. It's in the UK. The UK is pretty well renowned for its carp fishing. That's what those fish are that you see. So there's like different types of carp. There's ones that are fully scaled, which are called common carp, and there's mirror carp, which have a few scales on them. They can grow up to anything in this country to around 45 pound in weight. Wow. If you go to France and fish, you're looking at 80 pound plus.
My goodness.
So they're big chunks of fish. There's certain techniques that work really well for catching them, but mostly I spend my time. We have a safari park about an hour's drive from where I live. They have some huge lakes there, so I spend the time there as much as I can. Again, that's been a bit restricted over the last few years, but that's where I tend to go. And then I'll be going up to the Norfolk Broads, which is near to a place called Norwich. Don't know if you've ever heard of the Norfolk Broads at all. If you Google it, there's loads. It's old peat beds from years and years ago. They dug all the peat out and sold that, and then the Norfolk Broads were developed. So it's a boating holiday for some people. But we tend to stay in a house near to the river's edge, and that's where I fish for a couple of weeks. So it's quite a nice. I will be doing loads of video in there this year. Something that there's a couple on my YouTube actually of the boats passing on time lapse.
Yeah, I'll check that out. Hey, how was it that you got involved in all the video and everything? I mean, I find it interesting that you're this big time video enthusiast too, and doing the YouTube channel and all. What was kind of the impetus for that? Have you always been into video, or did it kind of grow out of the photography thing, or what?
It's come out of the photography thing. I think as time's moved on, video cameras have become cost effective to buy, a reasonable price, producing a reasonable, an amazing picture now with the GoPro, especially at 4K. I don't think you can go wrong with that. But really, the photography has been something that I've done all my life, right from when I was a little kid. I was lucky enough to have a friend. His dad was one of the managing directors of Canon. So he used to bring samples home, and we used to go out and just shoot photos and do that. And that back in the days when he shot them and waited for the pictures to come back, because you didn't have digital and couldn't take 50,000 pictures and pick 2 out that are any good. So back in the film days, but that's what led me to video recorders, because they were quite expensive going back a while ago. So really that's how it led into video and going away and videoing the fishing that we did. There's some videos actually. What I might do, Tony, is if I add you as a family member actually on my YouTube, you'll be able to see some other videos that are on there. If you're interested.
Yeah. We sit around and watch. We watched a good many of your videos. Probably not as many as I would like to, because it's a time constraints.
We love the drive. I love the driving.
Yeah. Nikki was just saying she really loves the driving videos. To us, that's pretty cool, because you narrate them. You tell us little bits of history. You tell us what the places mean to you, and I don't know. It's just really cool to see something that's real rather than something that's presented to us by BBC,
No, right. Okay.
And so I don't know. It's highly entertaining to us, and I try to promote your videos.
Thank you.
With through my friends, and so I can't believe you're like friends with my sister-in-law.
She loves that, by the way.
Yeah, she thinks you're awesome. So that's.
I just had a request. It was quite funny, because I was thinking, who's this? And then I read the surname and I thought, oh, I know who that is.
True, and it's funny. I'm getting this kind of following from the UK. I've got friends from Wales and friends from from Ireland, and you are probably the one I interact with the absolute most. But and I know there are like 30 million. What is the UK?
60
million?
61, something like that.
So every time I get one, I say, I wonder if Rich knows this guy, but that's really funny. So that's kind of one of those dorky things, I guess. But
I think America thinks that. America think that when I say that I'm 70 miles from London, they go, "Oh, I've got a friend that lives there."
Exactly. Exactly. Well, it's. I've only been over this across the sea one time. I was actually hired by a company that does golf trips, golf adventures. And so I flew into Shannon, Ireland, and we did about 5 days of just driving around to Ireland. It went down to south to Old Head, places like Tralee. I'm trying to remember some of these Doonbeg, or places like that around the Ireland coast, mostly south and west part. And then I flew over to Scotland, and that's the only time I've been to the actual UK, I guess, was I spent about another 7 days in Scotland, just going around to St. Andrews, and I'm trying to think of all the different places I went. I mean, it was absolutely gorgeous. North Berwick is one of the coolest places that I went on that trip. But the whole time it was a paying gig, so I had to be really focused on following these guys around, shooting video, shooting photos. Didn't get to enjoy any of it. And those guys didn't care about the history. All they cared about was getting from one course to the other and drinking a lot of scotch. So exactly. So it's like I'm really yearning to get back over there again. It was just enough to get my appetite whetted, and so Nikki and I, one of these days, I mean, it's just one of those things we're planning on doing. We want to come to England, do the England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, spend 2 or 3 weeks just driving around if I could possibly do that and not kill people or myself. Because I'm a marginal driver in the U.S. I hate to think what I would be in the U.K.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something about the US when I've driven there, and I've driven there loads now. It's just so nice to drive on your roads. You might not think it is for you, but for us, or for me anyway, I can only speak for myself, to drive in the US, it's just so easy.
Well, aren't the lanes a lot wider? I mean, when I was over there, it seemed like the lanes were very narrow, and when we would pass people, it seemed like the vehicles were this far from us.
That's how it is.
Well, yeah, that worries me. I worry that the whole time I was there was like a driver, professional driver, and he had a Mercedes bus, and so it was me and these 4 guys, rich guys from Atlanta, that were doing this golf adventure. And so I followed them around. I might post some of it on YouTube since I still own the rights to the video. But it was incredible. It was life changing for me because particularly when I got to Scotland, it just instantly felt like a place I sort of belonged. And I knew that kind of 3/4 Scottish is what my heritage is. And so I just thought, well, maybe there is something to being tied to the land or something, or I don't know what it was, or maybe it was because where I grew up in Little Switzerland, maybe that's the reason the Scottish people settled there, is it felt like home or something. So there's that little portion of America. One of these days, if you guys can ever visit, I'll take you around and show you, and maybe it'll
He
seem.
will tell him he'll get plenty of YouTube videos from your family.
Oh, Nikki says you can get plenty of YouTube videos from my family.
Crazy mountain folk.
But so you've been to Florida a couple times. Is that the only part of America you've been to?
No, I've been to Florida quite a lot, but we tend to go off the beaten track a little bit if we can. I've spent time in Cleveland and Detroit. Went to watch the Cleveland Browns, I think they're called, play there, and next to Lake Erie, I think it's called.
Yeah.
That was amazing. That's like the sea. It's just amazing to think that's a lake. So I would say majority is spent in the touristy bit. Down on the Florida Keys, we've been down there to Miami, all the usual stuff that English people would do when they go there.
Yeah.
But when I look at your videos around Little Switzerland and that, it just looks like such a beautiful place.
Well, it's pretty immense, really. You wouldn't, well, maybe you'd know it or not from the video, but it's still very wild. Rural Appalachia is still spottily populated. It's rugged, more rugged than people would think, and it's beautiful. It's magical. It's like the Shire. I mean, it's that kind of thing. And I would. One of these days, if you're ever back, or you can get an international flight. I mean, I know they have direct flights from London to Charlotte. In Charlotte, go there every day. I'd pick you guys up and take you and show you a nice week. And it's cheap, it's inexpensive, and really nice people, and just delightful. I mean, they're.
Yeah, here.
I was going to say you can stay here. We have 2 extra rooms if you wanted to do it, and
Thank you.
and we're normal people. We're not serial killers or anything. So.